Hello everyone, and welcome to the Commander's Forge. My name is Andrew Bentley, and I am your host. Now, the Commander's Forge is an area for me to talk about Commander and Magic, and in the ways that I enjoy it. Now, today might be a shorter episode, but it's going to be part of a 12-part series that I'm going to do throughout the year, because I'm recording my games. So today, we're going to talk about my stats for January. And let's kick that off with number of games played. I played a total of 39 games in the month of January. In those 39 games, I played 29 unique commanders, with the most played commander being Yumori the Collector at 4 times. The second most played commander was Lyndon the Steadfast Queen at 3 times. I broke down where I sat in each game. So I went first 3 times. I went second 19 times. I went third 13 times. And I went last 4 times. The first player win rate in all of our games settled out to about 23.3%, which does kind of line up with where I thought it would be, with about 25%. I played against 28 unique opponents. And I had 2 people that I played the most, and that is Parker and Andy from the Guardian Project Discord. Each of them have been in a game with me 15 times. Out of all of the games I played, I have 7 wins and 31 losses. And that equals out to about 22.5%, which again is fairly close to the 25% that most people expect, and I don't think it's that bad. I would like to say that I definitely won a couple games that I didn't think I was going to win, and I definitely lost a few games that I thought I was going to win. All in all, I think it helps that I'm recording my games because it encourages me to reach out to play more games. That said, I haven't played many games in the last week or two because I've been extremely busy going back to work. And with the release of Kaldheim, I'm still waiting to get my hands on some product. But yeah, I definitely feel like the idea of just writing down the stats for a game not only helps play more games, but it helps you remember them, too. Well, I did mention this was probably going to be a shorter episode. And with that, we are going to move into a little ad. I'll be right back. Hi. If you haven't heard about Anchor, let me tell you some of the reasons why I started using it. For one, it's free. There's no subscription fee. You don't have to pay for anything. Second, it gives you all of the editing software you need for everything you're going to do. Beyond that, it helps distribute your podcast to so many different places, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. It's amazing. Not only that, but they offer to sponsor you. Right there. That's it. Just by recording podcasts. They will pay you based on the number of listens it gets. brings everything you need into one place. And if you want to try it out, you can download their app, or you can go to anchor.fm to get started. Now back to the episode. And welcome back. Now, as a little bit of a special, the Sethron Herlone General is coming with a promo card for the Chinese New Year. So, in honor of that, I'm just going to do a quick rundown of my Sethron Herlone General deck. Starting with the big old cowman himself. Sethron Herlone General is a 4/4 Minotaur Warrior for 3 red. And whenever Sethron Herlone General or another non-token Minotaur enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 2/3 red Minotaur creature token. Then you can pay 2 and a hybrid Rakdos, and Minotaurs you control get +1/+0 and gain menace and haste until end of turn. So it's a tribal deck, it's a aggro deck, it's what I like to do. And that starts with creatures. And the first one I want to talk about is Neheb. But which one? Although that's kind of a trick question because we're actually running all 3. So let's start with the one that I feel is the worst. And that is Neheb Dreadhorde Champion. He is 2 red for a 5/4 zombie Minotaur Warrior. He has trample. And whenever he deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, you may discard any number of cards. If you do, draw that many cards and add that much red. Till end of turn, you don't lose mana as steps and phases end. That just means because you do that in a combat step that you won't lose it before your second main. Then we'll do what I view as the second best Neheb, which is the original Neheb the Worthy, which is 1, a black and a red. He is a 2/2 Minotaur Warrior. He has First Strike, and he gives other Minotaurs you control First Strike. And as long as you have 1 or fewer cards in hand, Minotaurs you control get +2/+0. And whenever Neheb the Worthy deals combat damage to a player, each player discards a card. And then we'll round out our Nehebs with Neheb the Eternal, which is 3 red for a 4/6 zombie Minotaur Warrior with Afflict 3. And at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, you add red to your mana pool for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. I really do love that card. But next to that, we have a bunch of Lord effects. Starting with Ambra Spirit Crafter, which is from several older sets, but it's 2 red for a summon Minotaur. It is a 1/3 and it says all Minotaurs get +1/+0. I don't know if that's been eroded to Minotaurs you control, but if not, all Minotaurs. Next we have the Rageblood Shaman, which is 1, a red and a red. It's a 2/3 Minotaur Shaman. It has trample, and other Minotaurs you control get +1/+1 and have trample. After that, we have the Ragemonger, which is 1, a black and a red for a 2/3 Minotaur Shaman. And Minotaur spells you cast cost a black and a red less to cast. This effect reduces only the amount of colored mana you pay. So if it's 2 and a red, you just have to pay 2. Yeah. Next we have Kragma Wallcrawler. He is a 3, a black and a red for a 2/3 Minotaur Warrior. And Minotaur creatures you control have haste, and whenever a Minotaur you control attacks, it gets +2/+0 till end of turn. The next one we're going to talk about is Morag, Fury of Akum. He is 4 red for a 6/6 Minotaur warrior, and each creature you control gets +1/+0 for each time it is attacked this turn. And it has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, if it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase. At the beginning of the combat, untap all creatures you control. Being in a Rakdos deck, we don't necessarily have a ton of ways to trigger the landfall, but we are running a few ways to take extra combats. And the last creature we're going to talk about is Fanatic of Mogus. It's 3 in a red, it's a 4/2 Minotaur Shaman, and when it enters the battlefield, it deals damage to each opponent equal to your devotion to red. There's a lot of red in this deck, but more importantly, we're running a bunch of ways to just double up on damage. We've got the Furnace of Wrath, which is 1, a red, and a red, for an enchantment that says if a sorcerer would deal damage to a creature or player, it deals double that damage to that creature or player instead. Or we've got Dictate of the Twin Gods, which is 3, a red and a red, for an enchantment with flash that says if a sorcerer would deal damage to a permanent or a player, it deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. Or we're also running Gratuitous Violence, which is 2, a red, and a red, for an enchantment that says if a creature you control would deal damage to a creature or player, it deals double that damage to that creature or player instead. And if you want something that's a little less permanent, we have Insult to Injury. Insult being 2 in a red for a sorcery that says damage can't be prevented this turn, and if a sorcery you control would deal damage this turn, it deals double that damage instead. And its Aftermath Injury is 2 in a red for a sorcery that says injury deals 2 damage to target creature and 2 damage to target player. And to round off that whole section, we have Wound Reflection, which is 5 and a black for an enchantment that says at the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses life equal to the life they lost this turn. Minotaurs. Now, running an aggro deck, we want to have some kind of protection, and being a Rakdos deck, we definitely leaned into black with some reanimation, starting with Rescue from the Underworld, which is 4 and a black for an instant, and as an additional cost to cast it, you sacrifice a creature, then you choose target creature card in your graveyard, return that card to the battlefield, and the sacrifice card to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of your next upkeep, and then you exile Rescue from the Underworld. Just a nice, good old flavorful card. Next, we are running Animate Dead, which is 1 and a black for an enchantment aura. You enchant a creature card in a graveyard, and I'm not going to read the brick of text. It gets -1/-0, and if Animate Dead or the creature were to die, they both go away. Yeah, that's... Yep. And we are running Rise of the Dark Realms. It is 7 black for a sorcery that just says put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. I really do love black. Now I'm going to round out this short discussion of my deck with the card that gets countered just about every time it gets cast. And that is Deathbellow Warcry, which is 5 red for a sorcery that says search your library for up to 4 Minotaur creature cards with different names, put them onto the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. Yeah, that's Rakdos Minotaurs. in a nutshell for you. Alright. That's going to be it for this week. Yeah, I guess I'll see you next time.
That brings us to the end of the podcast. I'd like to thank the American Windows for designing my logo, and Cody Mosley of Team Sauce for allowing me to use the sample of selection from their band. The podcast can be found on YouTube by searching Commander Sport. The podcast is Commander Sport, that is CMDR_4 on Twitter. I can be found on Twitter at MTSR, that is Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time. And until then, fun games.